Okay, I'd like to introduce you to a new program we have at Anglican TV. It's basically called Christian Voices. We're starting off doing interviews with leaders around the world in Christian ministry. And one of the people I travel frequently with to different venues, whether it's GAFCON or Lambeth or lots of stuff domestically here in the U.S., is Phil Ashey from the American Anglican Council. And I've run into him a couple times recently. I said, the American Anglican Council has done a great transition more towards pastoral leadership in the last couple of years, and it'd be really nice if we sat down and talked about that, and we just never had time to do it. Well, today we have time to do it, and I have Phil on the other line here via Skype, and we're going to talk a little bit about the early days of the AAC and what they've done now since the ACNA has formed. Phil, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kevin. It's so good to be with you.
Yes. We're both recording on a hot day. I've turned the AC off here so nobody's going to hear anything in the background. We've adjusted all the lighting so it doesn't look hot down in Georgia. But the AAC is located in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, we've been here for, I guess, probably about 10 years or more. And it's, frankly, a great place to be because the old adage is, wherever you go in the world, you usually have to fly through Atlanta. So, whether it's here in the United States or Uganda or Singapore or England, this is a great place to be. And we enjoy being in the center of things.
I remember being in Kent, England, talking to an archbishop who said, the Episcopal Church just told me, the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, that they're not suing anybody. What's the story? Why do you guys keep telling the world that they're being sued? And I'm like, have you heard of the American Anglican Council? They have a paper they want you to read. One of your roles really early on in the AAC was to inform people about what was happening.
Yeah, and that's true, Kevin. I think, we're a resource for many biblically faithful Anglicans and those who frankly were uninformed about what was going on in the Episcopal Church. I would say that it is a ministry we still do. As recently as the Primates gathering in Canterbury in January of this year, we were preparing position papers and helping distribute information that would enable the primates as they gathered to make intelligent and well-informed decisions. But I think we recognized that in terms of just being about politics or trying to reform an institution like the Episcopal Church from the inside out, that we needed to begin in this sort of global realignment of Anglicanism to stand up for the sake of building up as well as defending Great Commission Anglicans. And that really is kind of our byline now and our mission.
Well, one of the things you do, without notice from Facebook and all, is you put together programs where you help priests and their wives. You have weekend camps and stuff like that, where you're providing leadership, oversight, counseling, and a pastoral oversight, so to speak.
Yeah, we really have a heart for that, and I suppose part of that comes from both Bishop David and I, having grown up in the Episcopal Church, but I'm also a PK. My dad was rector of St. James, Newport Beach for many years, and so I developed a real burden for clergy families, and we recognize that it's hard to have a healthy, functioning church that's fulfilling the Great Commission if your clergy aren't healthy, spiritually, emotionally, physically. And that led to, very early on, a survey we did of clergy that had come into ACNA about the things that were really on their hearts. And what we found is that many of them were suffering what you might describe as post-traumatic stress disorder.
Absolutely.
Not surprisingly, from some of the the stress they had from leaving the Episcopal Church, but also the same garden variety challenges, chances, and stresses that everybody has in ministry. One of the things about go ahead.
No, go. Yeah, finish your thought.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, the Anglican Church in North America, of which I was privileged to help put the structure together, the Constitution and Canons, we intentionally decided that we were not going to create a bloated bureaucracy at the top. Where all your money goes to the top, which feeds this bureaucracy, and it drips down to the diocese and the congregation, and you have all these programs that the national church runs. Well, as Archbishop Foley loves to say, we are top light. We have a skeleton staff that works with around enumerated powers in our Constitution, and that leaves lots of things like leadership development, clergy care, clergy spouses, church revitalization, all the things that we're doing now were unaddressed. And so being the kind of organization we are, which is, we like to say we always run to the sound of the battle. Well, when you're moving more into peacetime, the battle is things like, how do I get my congregation to grow? How do I maintain my sanity as a clergy person? How do I take care of my family with the stresses? As a lay person, how can I work well with my priest and support him? Together, clergy and lay leaders together, how can we deal with conflict in healthy ways where we're not, personalizing it and throwing gasoline on the flames, but rather staying focused on the vision, the values, and the mission of the church. And we just thought, this is something we know a lot about. And it's actually part of our history.
Oh, sure. I mean, what's the hardest part about transitioning from, the joke was the AAC was black ops. It was there to provide information and give pertinent information to people who needed it when they needed it. Now it's a pastoral role. What was the hardest part of the transition?
Well, I think one of the hardest parts is communicating that. If it were as easy as saying, we used to do A, now we do B, don't think about A anymore, it'd be a very easier road to hoe. But we're still doing a little bit of A. We're still doing some of the black ops stuff. And, we don't talk a lot about that because it is what it is. But really what we had to do is we had to go back and say, well, in those early formational meetings of the American Anglican Council, what were we about? And I remember at the second organizational meeting when I was just a young pup, just an assistant rector at a large church. I remember some of the leaders saying, we want to build a society of Great Commission churches. Well, what happened, of course, with everything going on in the Episcopal Church is that caused us to slide into General Convention and all the Black Ops stuff and all of the work and research that we did and standing up in General Convention. And though in 2003, when you could say we crossed the Rubicon, when we lost the battle for reforming the church within, I'd have to say today that if you look at the ACNA College of Bishops, I would say at least half of them were lieutenants, captains, colonels, and even generals in those AAC General Convention schools. So we began to realize we're always going to be about leadership development, clergy, laity, bishops. And so it was a matter of taking what we teach. You take the existing values that you have as an organization, but you adapt them to new circumstances. And then our big challenge is communicating that and saying, no, we're just, we're not the AAC that helped you out of the Episcopal Church and that just had a constant drumbeat of negativity about the Episcopal Church. We've moved beyond that. We're about building up, Great Commission Anglicans now, and doing that all over the world.
An amazing transition from your early days. I asked, what's the difficult part? What's been the blessing in all this?
For me, the blessing is getting to know leaders all over the country. It's getting to walk, on clergy leadership training institutes with clergy and have them pour out their hearts to me, and to be able to listen, to rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep, and pray and stay in touch with them and encourage them. I am so excited that we've moved into coaching now. I'm doing a little bit of it, but really we took on Canon Stephen Saul, who is one of our alums from our very first Clergy Leadership Training Institute. And a couple of other guys who are alums in that first class are now coaches. And I have a great joy in seeing this whole leadership development piece where people like Stephen Saul are now, running our church revitalization and training program. Others are going to become canons to the ordinary and probably future bishops. So there's an enormous amount of satisfaction. I feel that we're actually laying the groundwork for the future of the ACNA for generations to come. And now we're reaching down. We're very, very excited. We're working with people on our board who are working with seminarians and drawing them into the clergy leadership training process. So I see us, being involved in that whole leadership development pipeline for quite some time, working with David Roseberry now, and LeaderWorks. We're co-hosting in December a wonderful seminar for large church rectors. We're calling it RSVP, Rectors Summit for Vision and Planning. And the idea is, just like we did with bishops training, to get guys together who are leading large churches and get them to talk with each other and help them develop a vision, not only for church planting, but for helping and drawing up the smaller churches in their region, and helping share resources with them so that as their boat rises, others rise as well. And we contribute to the health of ACNA.
That is interesting, because one of the things that was lost in the later years of the Episcopal Church was, what is a bishop? What's the role of a bishop? What does a bishop do? What's the role of a priest and a deacon and a layperson? And, there was so much lost, not just in the politics, but in the definition of the roles. And it's wonderful to see you guys come up and help provide that. Next question people are going to ask before we close is, how do I learn more, and do you need support?
Yes. Yes, we need support. We depend on the donations and gifts of individuals. And so, and Kevin, if you want to write out a check, it's to American Anglican Council. And we have a society of givers, the Nehemiah Society, which you can find on our website, AmericanAnglican.org. What I'd say is that, if you're watching this, is that when you give to the American Anglican Council, you're actually giving to the future of the ACNA, because we're the people that are coming alongside and helping to grow churches and leaders, and not only Anglicans in North America, but around the world, as we take some of this bishops training and bring it to places like Uganda and the Southern Cone and invite bishops here. So we really are a global resource for Anglicans who are seeking to become those who have an Anglicanism that is confessional and not just relational.
Absolutely. All right, well, I'll provide a link at the bottom of this video right about here for your website and your Facebook page. Phil, I want to thank you for your time. You and I have traveled together now for probably 8 or 9 years to different venues, and it's fun hanging out with you and learning about what's going on in the church. I know a little bit what's going on, but you were always the person who knew everything that was going on.
Well, as you know, Kevin,
yes,
it's great talking with you and traveling with you. And thank you for all you do to keep us informed. We really appreciate your ministry. God bless you.
Well, thank you. And this ends our first episode of xVox.